Thank you so much, sir, for being a part of our program this morning. And always, it's always a delight to have you on our program.
Thank you for having me, my brother.
I've seen a number of coups.
I think that there's a receding democracy. Democracy has not given the people the hope which they aspire to have under democracy. And it's also important that we understand the idea of democracy itself is about people-centered development. Across the whole of West Africa, what you will see clearly is a clear manifestation of poor governance and corruption. I have not seen ECOWAS making, huge efforts or making commiserable efforts to ensure that within the West Africa region, that there's good governance. That's the challenge. There's good governance. They really do not care about good governance. If ECOWAS has reduced democracy to election and electionary, if ECOWAS has reduced democracy to ballots, one would have expected that ECOWAS should also ensure that elections in West Africa should be credible and acceptable. Of course, you see what happens across the region is as a result of frustration, as a result of failure of the political elite to deliver governance to the people. And people increasingly are looking for alternative. And that's why if today, of course, Nigeria, they sometimes last 2 months or thereabout. We had our own conversation about coup plotting. Government came out to deny it, and at the end of the day, some persons were arrested. So what that tells you is that there's increasing dissatisfaction in the way we practice our own kind of democracy. And I think that my fear, therefore, is that we are not likely to come out of this challenge, because if you put good governance and put debt for average West African politician, Bishop, I'm afraid that he may even likely choose debt, because for these guys, really, it is not about governance. Let me say that you cannot force legitimacy. You cannot force legitimacy. And if you think that if ECOWAS thinks, if ECOWAS regional body thinks that what they need to do is to begin to ensure that Q is not going to take place in any of the West Africa countries, but perhaps that's part of their own job. But they are getting it wrong. What they need to do is that ECOWAS as a regional body needs to really come to round table, sincere participatory communication, sincere democracy communication. Tell themselves the truth. Why are we really recording coup in West Africa? What is really going on? The political elite needs to tell themselves that they need to actually give democracy. So they need to actually allow for people-centered development through the instrumentality of the democracy we practice. Because in any case, the only way we can negotiate our development, our growth, and our well-being is only within the context or within the platform of the democracy we practice. And across the whole of West Africa, our democracy does not give in for development consensus. Our political parties are nothing but mere gathering vote association. I pray and I hate military, and I'm saying that the military, what do they call it? Military is not an option. Our democracies just have to work. And I know and I think that the only way to get this democracy to work is for the political elite to do the right thing. The behavior of our political elite, the behavior of our political parties, the behavior of ruling class in West Africa does not in any way support any tenant of democracy. And I am saying you cannot sustain this kind of behavior because you are going to have citizen resentment and legitimacy crisis. And no country in the world, no governance in the world survives crisis of legitimacy. When you go into crisis of legitimacy, even in the traditional setting, the traditional rulers, you can't survive crisis of legitimacy. And I'm saying that that's what this is what we need to do going forward, Bishop. And I'm saying that this force we are using both local and international terrain is not going to be the solution. The only solution to all this kind of behavior is a good governance. Let people have hope in the democracy we practice. Let the citizens wake up to believe that the politicians will better their lives. Otherwise, we are going to record more kills because really there's already citizens disbelief, citizen resentment about the kind of democracy we practice in Africa. Because there is not really in West Africa. It's not really helping anybody. It's not really improving the lives of anybody. So you need to understand that the major problem is governance and leadership. So you need to address leadership and governance issue. It's not about thinking that what you do is to use force, because at the end of the day, what you're going to record mutiny. Because even within the military, the people you rely on to go do the work, they are not also happy with the system. Because at the end of the day, you may likely record mutiny. It's either you record mutiny or across West Africa, you see rebel. The breakaway, when you have the breakaway of some military men, what are you likely going to have? You're likely going to have rebel. And when you have rebel combined with the kind of conflict, insecurity you are having across West Africa region, what are you going to do? Automatically, rather than address governance issue, you are interested in power, you will destroy the region. That's what I'm saying, Bishop.
If we continue to have this kind of issues with coup and attempted coup, what do you think it might result to? Can it lead to further underdevelopment of Africa?
Well, it all depends. It all depends what you call development. It all depends what your understanding of development is. The guy in Burkina Faso is doing well. In as much as I love democracy the most, sometimes I have the belief or the feeling that West Africa needs a visionary dictator to command or to bring the kind of development we need and the growth. Because increasingly these guys, these men in Mufti are not really doing what they ought to do. So the implication for Africa is that at the end of the day, West Africa is likely going to be more fragile state. Insecurity may begin to heighten. Democracy may disappear. Or even if democracy is not going to disappear, it's going to be a fragile democracy. But I think that it is time for Africa, or West Africa in particular, to really sit down to discuss, to think out the kind of governance or the kind of system it wants. I am one of those that had also advocated for Africa indigenous socialism. It must not necessarily be called democracy, but we need to sit down to address or to agree on the kind of leadership that we need to put Africa or West Africa in the pedestrian, on the compass of growth. This behavior of democracy, or what you are interested in, is unconstitutional change of government or reducing democracy to mere ballot. It's not working. These things, Bishop, since 1999 to date, if you look at the Nigeria context, since 1999 to date, what's going on? How have we improved? All what we are hearing within the context of democracy we practice is the abuse of power, mismanagement of public resources, closing of civic space, making the mockery of the democracy we claim we inherited from the foreign the Western world. This is not the kind of democracy we want. In any case, and I need you to do a research. How many of the Western countries really practice real democracy? Even tell me, and I need you to do this. Maybe we'll have this conversation the other way. I think that West Africa needs to have its own kind of governance. I don't know what they will call it, but I think that we really have our own kind of governance that is peculiar to our people, that will allow for growth and development. Because really, Bishop, we are just joking. We are jokers. And I think that we can't go this way. And I'm feeling frustrated, but we need to find a solution to address some of the challenges we are facing at the moment. And those challenges can only be addressed under leadership and governance platform. That's the only way we can do it.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Liberty. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for taking the time to explain some of these things to us. Thank you so much. God bless you, sir.
Thank you for having me.